We will begin now. Namaste. We welcome you all for this webinar today on Patanjali Maharshi's Ashtanga Yoga. Thank you all for making this time, today being Sunday evening. Thank you all once again for being here. Patanjali Maharshi's ancient yoga philosophy offers a holistic path for physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. This timeless wisdom, which is encapsulated in the form of Yoga Sutras, guides us or takes us in the path of or towards self-realization and in finding own true self or being in the true nature of your own being. You all must have heard, read, or have a little scattered understanding about Ashtanga Yoga. Have heard about Patanjali Maharshi, have heard about the 8 limbs of yoga. But today, we will unravel the secrets of Ashtanga Yoga and discover how this ancient wisdom can transform into your modern lives. So let's embark on this transformative journey together. We will begin with the Patanjali Maharshi's prayer. We all can sit straight. Sit comfortably. If you're seated down, you can keep cross-legged. If you're sitting on a chair, you can just relax. Keep your eyes closed. You can just stay with the prayer with me. Yogena chittasya padena vacha.
I'm not audible.
Balam sharirasya cha vaidyakena. Yopakarotam pravaram munina. Patanjaliranatosmi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Thank you everyone once again for joining today's session. Patanjali Maharshi's Ashtanga Yoga. We'll go to the introduction. So you can change the slide to the next one. Is it audible, ma'am? Everything okay?
Yeah, there were some issues with the sound for a couple of them, but most of them it's fine. Probably they might have to check their earphones or the connections to the earphones if they are Bluetooth connected.
Oh. Yes. Okay. Thank you all
Otherwise,
once
everything is good. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all once again for joining. Coming to the introduction, I'm Dr. Yashaswini Biraj. I'm a dentist by profession, but now I've been a Hatha Yoga teacher and practitioner for quite some time. I'm also the founder of Yoga Yashas. So this is a place where apart from Asana Yoga, we also bring in a lot of yoga philosophy. It's a place where yoga, mindfulness, and your self-discovery all converge together. Get on to the journey with Yoga Yashas if you are a beginner, or if you're already a great practitioner, or you're more journey to get into the path of yoga journey. And we have our guest speaker, Bomma Vivek. He's a Navy veteran, he's an engineer by profession, and he's also a yoga practitioner and an avid practitioner of Yoga Sutras. And a little more about him. Bomma Vivek is a mechanical engineer by profession. He served in the Indian Navy for more than 2 decades and then moved out in 2021. He's presently working with a Bengaluru-based startup, predominantly into defense business. His interest in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras was kindled whilst pursuing his PG diploma in yoga in 2017. Ever since, the text has been a constant source of inspiration to him to try and understand the practical correlation of the profound Indian philosophical system in everyday life. Apart from teaching yoga, Vivek has interest in running, cycling, aerobics, and strength training, which he combines for keeping himself fit. That's a very short introduction about Vivek sir. From here, he will take over you all to the very nice transformative journey into the 8 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga. Thank you all.
Okay, ma'am, thank you so much. Thank you for the lovely introduction. Okay, this session has been planned as a follow-on of our session which we did in June, where we spoke a little bit about the different branches in Indian philosophy. However, for the benefit of those who are attending this session for the first time, we have included some main aspects which will help us understand the crux of what we wanted to discuss in our webinar today. So with that in mind, we are discussing the metaphysics of Samkhya as well as yoga. These two are kind of sister philosophies because the framework is largely the same. There are certain differences, but the basic structure as what we see today will apply to our understanding of Ashtanga Yoga. So when we look at Samkhya Yoga, it follows a dualistic philosophy pattern where there are two real entities. These entities are eternal. That means there is no beginning. They are beginningless. They are timeless. They have always existed. The first is which is pure consciousness, and which is nature or matter. So Purusha and Prakriti, these are the two eternal entities which are propounded by this particular philosophy. Now, Prakriti by its very nature is evolutionary, and it has three gunas, which are Sattva, Tamas, and Rajas, which are generally in homogeneity. But when Prakriti moves towards or into the proximity of Purusha, then there is evolution that is taking place. This evolution is not a biological evolution, but a sensory evolution that takes place. Okay. Now, this is the evolution that we talk about when we speak about Samkhya or Yoga evolution. As you see, this is what our senses are ultimately developed into. First is Prakriti, then in the proximity of Purusha, you have Buddhi developing. Buddhi is the discerning intellect. Then comes Ahankara or ego. After ego is the manas or the mind, the jnanendriyas, the cognitive senses, smell, taste, touch, sight. These are the organs which sense these particular evolutes. Then you have karmendriyas, which are the conative senses, your limbs, sex organs. The tanmatras are subtle elements. As I just correlated the jnanendriyas with the tanmatras. The mahabhutas are the great elements, which are actual physical elements which you can feel, see, and touch. The philosophy basically talks about dissociating Purusha from Prakriti, because the Purusha as pure consciousness is inert and is not participative in any activities of what happens with Prakriti. But it is Prakriti's proximity of which all these evolutes are available, and we essentially are developed from Prakriti, evolved from Prakriti. But our true self is what is the Purusha, the self with the capital S. So this philosophy is all about how we can dissociate Prakriti from Purusha and get back to our own true self. Right? So Prakriti is the matter and Purusha is the consciousness. Consciousness is something which is inherent and it cannot be known. It has to be realized. That is why everywhere you come across this term of self-realization and not self-knowledge. So there is a big difference. That difference always should be kept in mind while we are moving in this particular path, because you are here to realize and not to learn something new. You're just trying to unravel certain sheets over you to finally get to your own true self with a capital S. Now, the Yoga Sutras are, it's the text with which the philosophy of yoga has been propounded by Maharshi Patanjali. The antiquities are various, but he's essentially somebody who's codified it. So first is, it is divided into 4 different padas or parts. The first is the Samadhi pada, then the Sadhana pada, Vibhuti pada, and then the last one is the Kaivalya pada. Samadhi pada has 51 sutras, Sadhana 55, Vibhuti 55, and Kaivalya 34. Samadhi pada deals with the definition of yoga. There are certain fluctuations that trouble you in this particular path and the removal. Sadhana is what are the different types of yogas. There are certain afflictions that trouble you during the course of your practice, your sadhana. What are the causes of these afflictions? How can you detach yourself from these factors? These are explained in sadhana. Vibhuti is when from you start disconnecting from the external world and you start moving inwards. That is essentially through the mode of meditation. And there is another concept called as samyama, which is we will not be talking about that. And once you move further in your meditative practices, there are certain special abilities that we gain. They are the vibhutis, the powers which we gain. But then there is a sutra which also warns you that the sadhaka is not supposed to get enticed to these particular powers that he inculcates. And Kaivalya is the stage when the Samadhi stage has been attained and you are moving towards attaining true self, the true self, which is, Kaivalya is derived from the word Kevala. Kevala means where the Purusha is in its own true self. There are no afflictions. There is no relation to Prakriti whatsoever. There is no Buddhi, Ahamkara, Manas, or any of the further elements. We also ended the last session with this particular sutra, which is the last sutra of Kaivalya Pada, of the text of Yoga Sutras as such. So this talks about Purushartha Shunyanam Gunanam Pratiprasava Kaivalyam Swarupa Pratishtava Chiti Shaktiriti. So what this means is that when does this journey of yoga actually end? So this journey ends when whatever was meant for the Purusha to be realized has been completed, has been satisfied. The Trigunas have involuted, Pratiprasava. Okay, there is a reverse evolution which has happened, or the power of awareness gets established in its own true form. This is the Purusha getting established in its own true form. Then the state of Kaivalya or emancipation is attained. So the Purusha is then dissociated, disconnected from Prakriti. This is where the journey of yoga ends. For all those who have attended the earlier time, we thought it would be a refresher. Kindly excuse us if it has become a little boring, but yes, I felt that this would be necessary to reiterate once before we move into the discussion today. Okay, so moving ahead, Ashtanga Yoga, the sutra says, Yamaniyama pranayama pratyahara dharana dhyana samadhayo ashtavangani. Now, as I understand, the audience here would be aware of this, if not in the full scope, but yes, at least 50% of these terms you would have come across in daily life. Asanas is known, pranayama is also known, dhyana, meditation also would be known, and samadhi is a state which is said to be the outcome of dhyana. So these 4 terms generally people would be aware of. Yama niyama, pratyahara, and dharana, these are some terms which are specific to Ashtanga Yoga. So what these terms actually mean are, yamas are social observances, what you owe to the society, not necessarily human beings, but to general nature around you. That is that is what is meant by yamas. Then niyamas are certain observances that you owe to yourself in this path of yoga, because these are some things which you are supposed to follow to keep yourself in a state that you are able to receive all the knowledge that comes to you during the course of meditation. Then asanas, well known, it is posture, but it is, as far as Patanjali Maharshi's Yoga Darshana goes, or the yoga philosophy goes, I've just shown you there are a total of about 195 Yoga Sutras, but there are just 3 Yoga Sutras which talk about asana. So he does not mention whether you're supposed to sit in Padmasana or whether you're supposed to do Shirshasana. All that is not included here. It just mentions about what is asana and what is it meant for. That's about it. In fact, the outcome of an asana is supposed to be removal of dualities. Okay. In fact, you will be able to relate to it because when you finish an asana session, you are generally much calmer. You are generally much in control. The mind is calmer. This is because there are certain elements which have been removed by the practice of asanas. Again, pranayama, breath regulation, this is a little more scientific as well as technical element of these fasts, of these 8 limbs, because by the control of breath, there are certain changes that are made in the body as well as the mind. 5th, pratyahara is essentially withdrawal of senses. Withdrawal of senses is like the easiest correlation that is given is like a tortoise withdrawing its limbs into its shell. So we are basically disconnecting from the outside world and we are starting our inward journey. Next is dharana, which is concentration. Dhyana is moving ahead in dharana and becoming absorbed in meditation. And samadhi is called as ecstasy, which is again a technical term that is used to describe the if we have to put it in the normal course of language, it is like dissociating from the external world and completely getting engrossed in one particular self, in your own self. Now, the aim of, as we said, the aim of this particular talk is not to discuss Yamaniyam, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, but we wanted to discuss as to why does Patanjali Maharshi give us this 8 limbs. And please also note that these are 8 limbs, not 8 stages. So essentially you need, when you are moving in this particular direction, you need all of them in entirety. It's like you saying that, you don't need your right hand or your left hand for something. No, all your limbs are required for your daily activities. And in case of yoga journey, you will also need all these limbs to attain samadhi and further on to kaivalya. So we take a step back and then we see as to why does he say that you have to follow all these 8 limbs, because the answer lies in this particular sutra where it says Yoganga Anusthana Ashuddhikshaye Jnana Deeptira Vivekakhyati. That is, when you have Anusthana on Yogangas, Anusthana is repeated practice of the same thing every day or multiple times in a day. So when your practice is so oriented and you are practicing the limbs of yoga, the Ashtangas, then you have the impurities in you getting burnt out, getting destroyed, and the lamp of knowledge, okay, or the radiance of knowledge rises up to what is called as Vivekakhyati, what we learned or what we just understood as the discerning principle of knowledge. This is essentially a function of buddhi, okay. So the knowledge rises up to Vivekakhyati. That is why you're required to practice Ashtanga Yoga. Now again, is Vivekakhyati just by a 100-meter dash, you touch the 100-meter finish line and come back? Would that be enough? The answer is no, because the previous sutra says that there is a condition for discernment, and that condition is that Vivekakhyatira viplava hanopaya. That means this flow of discernment has to be ceaseless, has to be uninterrupted. Only then would you be able to move away from the false identification of Purusha and Prakriti, the conjunction that so happens because of proximity of Prakriti with Purusha. The misidentification can be removed only when there is a continuous flow of Vivekakhyati. So how does that come? It's only by practice. Okay. Now, why do we need Vivekakhyati? We've already seen that when we discussed about the basic philosophy of Samkhya Yoga. Tadabhavat sanyoga bhavo hanam tadrishe kaivalyam. So it says that there needs to be a removal of something, okay, that will necessitate the breaking of the link or the bond between Purusha and Prakriti, which is giving you the absolute freedom for the Purusha, that is Kaivalyam for the Purusha. Now, that in this is called as ignorance or nations, and that ignorance is actually the cause of the conjunction between Purusha and Prakriti. That conjunction or samyoga is the cause or is the outcome of ignorance. Ignorance or nations is the term that is used here. And he also talks about what is avidya. Here I have to specifically mention that Patanjali Maharshi mentions everything and he codifies everything, defines everything, so that there is little doubt as to what does this mean. In fact, he has also given definitions to concepts like what is God, what is Ishvara. There are definitions for psychology also in this particular text of ours. So avidya, when we talk about here, is basically in the spiritual sense that he's talking about. And the definition of avidya, according to Patanjali Yoga Sutras, is anitya ashuchi dukkha anatmasu nitya shuchi sukhatmakhyatira vidya. That means when you presume what is impermanent to be permanent, what is impure to be pure, what is painful to be pleasurable, and what is not for the purpose of the Atma or the soul or the Purusha, that is termed as avidya, which is ignorance or nations. Okay. And there is also a quality which avidya has, like the quality is that avidya kshetra muttaresham prasupta tanu vichinno dharanam. That means avidya or ignorance forms the breeding ground for all kinds of further afflictions which trouble the mind, or any source of pain. Okay. He's also defined that what we assume to be pleasurable is not actually pleasurable, but it is actually pain, right? And the reason is that avidya is the foremost element in giving rise to remaining afflictions also. These can be the categorization of avidya is also into 4 different types. That is prasupta, tanu, vichinna, as well as udaranam. That means your ignorance can be dormant. Okay. Dormant means there is a possibility of it sprouting up at a later date or time. Tanu is what is weakened. Weak necessarily doesn't mean that it is weakened and it doesn't exert any influence on you. It is weak, but again, does exist a possibility that it can become stronger. Vichhinna is something which is intermittent. Sometimes it is present, sometimes it is absent. But it also means that it is available, and during the course, when one is a little more vulnerable, the Vichhinna element or the Vichhinna quality in which it is the avidya is present, that causes you to act in a particular way. Udaranam is actually continuously active, which is very strong. So that is something that makes you repeat a particular, let's say, habit. Okay. So it is continuously active. You're aware of it, but you're probably not able to give it up. Right. So let's now, having understood a little about what is avidya, what does avidya actually do? Okay. We can, if we trace our steps back, then you know that avidya is the basis of all our pain. Okay. Avidya is also the reason why there is samyoga or conjunction of Prakriti with Purusha. Now, when that ignorance is removed, that avidya is removed, nations is removed, then the samyoga is also broken down, and the Purusha gets into Kevala state or Kaivalyam. Now, for this to happen, you have to have continuous flow, uninterrupted flow of discernment or Vivekakhyati. It is the means. That is the only means. It is Hana Upaya. That is the means to give you, to help you dissociate Prakriti from Purusha. Now, when you practice Yogangas, then the impurities are destroyed and your knowledge rises up to discernment in a way that you're able to move further in your journey of yoga or self-realization, if I have to put it that way. And then finally come the yama niyamas, asana pranayam pratyahara dharana dhyana samadhi. It's a full, if we start drawing parallels with any other philosophy, I personally feel it may not work. But if you are looking at it, I mean, I would urge all of you to look at it specifically from the dualistic philosophy of Ashtanga Yoga or Yoga, because here you have this concept of Purusha as well as Prakriti. A point to remember is that when you're talking about Vivekakhyati, it is also an evolute of Prakriti. But then it's a sattvic evolute. There is the sattva is predominant in buddhi. There is always a discernment. For someone who is learned, Vivekin as he's called, for him, the discernment is in a way that he looks at everything as pain. That is what all our sages, all our learned maharshis and practitioners have told us, that you need to dissociate. And then you're supposed to perform your tasks with absolute delinking from the fruits of it. I hope this particular thing has been okay for, and I've been able to give you a few insights as to what exactly Ashtanga Yoga was meant to do. Not what exactly Ashtanga Yoga is, but what it was meant to do and why was it meant to do. I feel we'll be able to achieve whatever we thought. Because this is some content that you would not generally find online. This is something that we specifically decided because we wanted to expose the larger audience to what is philosophy of yoga all about. With that, we wanted to call it a wrap and take on questions that you would have. In fact, thank you so much, everyone, for being here today, taking some time out on Sunday. that is also a reason why we did not want to keep it too lengthy. We thought a short webinar would, help us in trying to give out some information. In fact, 40 minutes is what generally classroom instructions are meant to be. So we thought we would just try and keep it at that. It's not a classroom instruction. It is just a discussion that we wanted to have. But yes, we wanted to share a few more aspects of this particular philosophy. And I hope it has added a little bit to whatever you're already aware of. We are eagerly looking forward for all your comments and criticism, because the criticism is most important, and please feel free to share whatever you did not feel as appropriate, or if there were mistakes, also kindly let us know. It would help us in refining our own knowledge, and above all, it will help us in improving our content for the further courses, for the further course that we have planned in yoga philosophy. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. I'm ending the presentation, and I'm stopping sharing the screen now.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. It was very good. Thank you all for being here, and I hope you could be able to take some knowledge of Ashtanga Yoga, on why Ashtanga Yoga, and understanding that asana practice is not the only one. We are going to look at every other anga of the Ashtanga, of the 8 angas, and how each of them will act upon the asana yoga. So if you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask us. And also, if you want to share anything, thanks, Ashwin. Anyone with any questions?
Anything that you found was not very, you were not able to take it, or you're not able to understand, you can please let us know. Or was it too technical? Were we able to explain a few things or not explain a few things?
So generally, on the many online platforms, you'll find about Ashtanga Yoga, and you usually find discovering about the angas, all the 8 angas, the niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. But here we wanted to unravel about why an Ashtanga, and go back into why why Patanjali talks about the practice of these angas, and what is Avidya, what is the Purusha and Prakriti, which was from the last webinar. So I hope you got a few terms or understood a little about it. You can share your views on this. Thank you, Ravi sir, for your.
Just a brief question. So you shared the yama, niyama, and all the 8 limbs of the Patanjali Yoga philosophy. So is the order also important there?
Not necessarily.
Yama niyama has to be practiced throughout the life, ma'am.
Yeah.
Something
so
which
I think
goes in and goes out. This is what I think Patanjali also says. And coming to the end, when the samadhi state comes, samadhi is a state. It's a transient state. It cannot be the last state. You will fall back always. Samadhi, always, people mean this is the end. Okay, he's gone. It is that understanding. It's an absorption state where you are going into your true nature. You're just absorbing into a real state. But that's also a very temporary state. People fall back. Right, and then
yes, exactly, yeah, that's true.
And then that's when yamas and niyamas have to be practiced always.
Correct. Yeah. So
yes.
Is it like? There is no hierarchy structure, but all those are equally important.
Yes.
But I think they are in a way like helping supporting each other. But I think even the limbs within themselves, all the angas within themselves, I think they're not independent, but kind of a little
Interdependent.
dependent on the others as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Why asana practice has taken so much of center stage is because I think the medium you have
All
to
of them are
approach,
interlinked.
you have to approach
Mhm.
through the medium of the body. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
it is the way you, this is also yama and niyama, to take care of yourself. The injunctions, the conjunctions, the yamas, the daily practices, to go a little more on yamas and niyamas. Sir, can I?
Yeah. So,
Yes. So in
I mean,
yamas and
just
niyamas,
to add,
yes, sir.
sorry. Yeah. What he says, what Patanjali Maharshi says is that yama niyamas are universal truths which have not been bound by space, time, or a place. They are some things which are to be followed, irrespective of whatever state you are in. So the limbs, I mean,
Or
the
even
later
time
limbs are
as
later limbs. Yeah. In fact, it says Jati Desha Kala Samaya Navachinna Sarvabhauma Mahavratam. So these are Mahavratam. Vratam is something that we take upon ourselves as binding. So these are some things which are eternal, and you are taking it up to follow. Okay, and there are no. It's anavichinna means they've never been interrupted. They've never been sort of compromised at any point in time. So all these limbs are necessary for the particular uh, for attaining samadhi state. But samadhi is actually not the ultimate stage of kaivalya. Samadhi is only at one x. It stops at one particular state, and there is a journey beyond samadhi. That is kaivalyam, and there are stages in that also. In fact, Patanjali Maharshi says that there are 7 stages. He doesn't give a detail as to why or what are these 7 stages. Probably a guru is somebody who we need to lean to understand these 7 stages. The problem that I personally feel is that this knowledge is at a higher level of consciousness, but to make the common man understand, they have been put into words. So there are changes in interpretation. So to understand those words, I think we will have to rise up, in our own mental levels, so that we are able to understand a few aspects of this particular path. I think Ashwin had his hand raised. Is he there? Or?
Yeah, I know I'm there. I was just trying to say that, sir, you explained a lot of, very subtle things, very profound things, just trying to absorb it, right? So I probably have to listen to this a few more times, right, for it to sink in. That was all I was going to say. No questions.
Okay. No, understood. So I got the point. While we try to keep it simple, but then yes, there are certain technical terms which came up. That was the reason why we didn't want to discuss the Ashtanga Yogas. But yes, the point is taken. That is why a lot of people don't have any questions per se. I could understand that. So it has become a little more technical for a general audience. Okay. Point
Yeah,
taken.
it was certainly very interesting, especially that you talked about, being able to be aware of the duality and then being able to discern that, probably the duality exists, or, so that part, right, that really got me. So
The
Right.
philosophy in itself is so profound that I think it is necessary to read and reread and listen to it, and every time you try to understand, you understand a little more about it.
Okay.
This is more like the introductory session. Ravi is saying something of basic tenets of
Thank you,
yoga, looking
Baba.
forward for more practical asanas in future. Yes, we will. Sure, Ravikant.
I think here
No.
Yama and Niyama are our daily practices. They should be every day. As you said, all you are saying, it should be every day. Because once you practice Yama and Niyama, he said impurities are gone.
Yes.
Because once we are truthful to us and we do not accept anything from anybody, or we do not take anything from anybody, and we are in self-control.
Yes.
So we don't need anything from anybody else. We are with ourselves. So
This
with
is a-
that, we can proceed for another step. So Yama and Niyama are not separate. They are a part of our life. Actually, we are not practicing. We all know. We should speak truth. We should not do some take somebody's things, or these things we all know. We should not lie. Or brahmacharya means like being thinking of God and all those things. I think brahmacharya is not just being celibacy, but in you are thinking of God and being following the culture, whatever it is, or following the ashramas, various ashramas. Then swadhyaya, again knowing about ourselves. And Shuchi and Shaucham, these are everyday practices. All these things will keep us healthy. So once we are practicing, first thing, once we practice one thing, only one satya, if you say, like Satya Harishchandra is famous. One thing, if you practice, automatically other things will follow in line.
right.
So first thing is like, how can we practice? No, everybody can practice. First, start with one aspect of yama or niyama. Automatically, everything will fall into line, because once you join into a class, LKG, UKG, whatever it is, the teacher will start teaching not just one subject, all the subjects. And student will be learning all that. Automatically, it comes to the student. So everybody, I think yama and niyama is part and parcel of our life. Only thing is we are ignoring it. That is avidya, not avidya, but still we are just ignoring it. Only thing is we should accept that thing, whatever. అంటే మన సనాతన పురుషులు ఏం చెప్పారో అది యాక్సెప్ట్ చేసుకొని if you follow that, that will lead us to like we'll have a lot of our mind will be very much clear, so that we can think about God and automatically things will come into our experience. That's what I feel.
Yes, ma'am. Beautiful. You almost explained the yamas and niyamas. Very nice.
Thank you.
Vasundhara, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, good evening, Namaste. Thank you so much. The session was very, like one of the participants said, the lot of profound knowledge was put in simple terms. Could you just take some time to just explain, delve into Avidya, please? Because like I'm not very, I've not read up so much on Avidya and the different stages at which the layers of Avidya start, they are removed. Thank you so much.
Okay, just to go back, avidya is by definition, I mean, this avidya is essentially the spiritual ignorance. Okay, what is said. So avidya is if you look at the definition, it is anitya, ashuchi, dukkha, anatmasu. So what is not permanent, what is impure, then what is what is that causes pain, and what is not meant for the soul or the atma or the self. When that is construed as to be permanent, nitya, shuchi, sukha, and atmakhyati. So it's when these are assumed to be for I mean, these are assumed to be permanent or pure or for pleasure or for the purpose of the soul or the atma, then that is avidya. So avidya is, in this particular case, the clear definition here, if you see, is avidya is directly linked to the perception or the perception of prakriti with purusha, the conjunction. The reason for the conjunction is termed as avidya. And we have also mentioned that there are four different or four types of avidya, which is prasutta, tanu, vichina, and udarana. So prasutta is dormant. In fact, dormant is you are aware of a particular thing, but at some point in time, there is a likelihood of that springing back, and making you act in a way you know that you're not supposed to act in that particular way. That is prasutta. Tanu is again weakened, a little stronger than dormant, but yes, it exists. It's like, maybe if I can give the example of, let's say, somebody who's into smoking. So he knows that it is not supposed to be done. He's also given up, but once in a while, in a social get-together, in a social gathering, when he sees somebody, he's not able to resist that, the urge of taking a puff. Okay. Then Tanu is something which is existing and non-existing. So it's always being a ping pong between two things, that you want to give it up, but then you're not able to give it up. You're oscillating between these two. And Udarana is, you know that it is not supposed to be, let's say, binge watching Netflix. Okay. You know that it eats up the most of your time, but then you're not able to get out of, the show or the series or the movie is so interesting that you end up spending about, let's say, 6, 7, 8 hours binge watching, just sitting in front of the couch, getting your food through Zomato, Swiggy, and probably. So I'm just trying to equate it to what can be active, dormant, weekend, or whether it is, intermittent. I just went to whatever was Avidya again. Is there anything more that you could not understand, and is there anything more that I need to touch upon? Could you please tell us again, ma'am?
Thank you so much. The examples just fitted the definition. It's more clearer now. So my the second question, I'll make it quick. So as
Yeah.
all the ashtangas of yoga, all the 8 stages that happen simultaneously on this journey of yoga. So the avidya also exists together, is it, or even that the avidya part also exists together, or these are also stages? I want to understand that also. Like, is there a hierarchy in the
No, could you
avidya?
please repeat again?
So there is no
No.
hierarchy in. Yeah.
Okay. As far as avidya goes, there is no hierarchy per se. In fact, the 4 categories that have been put, I believe that itself is a hierarchy in one particular way, because from active ignorance, you are moving towards what is intermittent, and from intermittent, what is weakened, and what is weakened to what is dormant. So dormant is essentially, it does exist. So in yoga philosophy, there is something called as sabija and nirbija. So bija is seeds. So something which exists with certain seeds. While this is explained with the perspective of samskaras being in the consciousness of a particular person, the chitta of a particular person, this is also the seeds are also there, because the samskaras have not been able to be, one has not been able to remove those samskaras, primarily because the karma aspect has not been fulfilled. The karma aspect gets fulfilled when it is the whatever is required to be done for that particular thing has been addressed. So that addressing happens through avidya, or removing of avidya. Okay, so I don't think I've put it across correctly for you. So that aspect happens. So avidya is, in this particular context, it is the conjunction of the prakriti and purusha. That is the first aspect. So avidya, when you start realizing that there is some, now let's say all of us, we are probably now in the state of vichinna. Okay, because we know that there is something called as purusha prakriti, but then we have still not gone to that stage wherein we are completely able to dissociate the purusha from prakriti. Because even at that point, with buddhi being there, so buddhi being there also is an evolute of prakriti. Okay, so that disconnection, for that to happen, your Vivekakhyati has to reach to a level where, in fact, in the fourth pada, that is Kaivalya pada, there is a sutra which says, prasankhyanepya kusida sarvatha Vivekakhyati dharma megha samadhi. So he talks about a kind of samadhi where it is sarvadha Vivekakhyati. So your ignorance is removed, and there is Vivekakhyati, and there is only Vivekakhyati. That is a stage of dharma megha samadhi. And beyond that, when you go, it says, then after that is klesha karma nivrittihi. That means you are removing the kleshas and karmas. Your account of karma, whatever karma you've accrued over numerous lives of yours, have been destroyed, and that crucible is empty. So avidya is to an extent till where Vivekakhyati takes over, and after that is all Vivekakhyati, and there comes a time when there is only Vivekakhyati. That means there is only buddhi. Remaining all have been washed away, have been cleansed, and finally this Vivekakhyati is also to be disconnected, so that the Purusha is in the state of Kaivalya or Kevala. Have I made some sense, ma'am?
Yes, yes. Thank
Or
you so much.
am I still not? Is that okay?
Yeah. Thank you. I need to read up a lot on Avidya, on everything, in fact. But just to know more. But you've made it sound like accessible. It's not. It's not a very.
I mean, just to
You know.
share a personal. I mean, this is totally my way. I mean, whatever I've said is again my understanding. It's but when I've been reading, what I've been trying to what I've realized is that first we need to take what is written. I mean, this is again, it's totally my way of looking at it. It is easier to look at the sutra the way it is than reading too many interpretations about it. Take the sutra, take its words, what they mean, and try to put them together in a way that they make sense to you and start relating to it. This is something that I've always, because when I do it, then it makes me contemplate a little more. So when I contemplate, then it's as if you would be aware, there is smarana. We have these three aspects of learning: Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Okay, so it generally moves to Nididhyasana for me. So when there is contemplation and there are certain eureka moments. I think
Thank
I'm
you so
being a
much.
little too.
No,
Okay,
it makes sense. Thank you so much. Namaskaram.
thank you.
Yes, anyone, anything else you want to share? Anything? I don't know. I didn't realize it was you. It was in the name of Vasundhara, but it was good to have you.
Yeah, yeah, Yashaswini, thank you for sending the link. It's been a good session. I've attended the previous one also. Thank you so much to both
Thank
of
you.
you for the
Thanks a lot, Aruna.
Thank you.
Can
Well,
you,
thank you. I think,
can you read the comment in the posted by,
yeah,
my aunt?
my aunt
Yes,
says that in
important.
short, Vidya is feeling that you are body and mind. The fact is that you are eternal, you are Brahman. Yes. Brahman is more of a concept which is related to Vedanta. So,
Well, should we close, sir?
yeah, I think it's good. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for being here and patiently listening to what we had to say. Please, your feedback is most important. So, again, we'll try and endeavor to make it simpler and even more palatable. Yeah, because this is something, I mean, because the terms are a little complicated, but yeah, I think that's where I would want to end this session today. Thank you again for being here. It's been quite a learning for us to have this session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone, for being here on a Sunday evening. There are still some people joining. So, to brief and finish about Ashtanga Yoga. So, that was Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhiyo, Ashtavangani is the sutra for Ashtanga Yoga. It can be followed in the same hierarchy like Sushma ma'am was asking, or you can pick out one, but everything is interdependent. And we have to keep yamas and niyamas like a everyday routine, and then you can touch upon all the other aspects, all the other angas of Ashtanga Yoga. I hope all of you walk the path of yoga in
Srilata
some
ma'am,
way. Or
thank you for being there. Shiva sir,
yes.
everybody who's taken the time out, Ashwin.
Yes, thank you all for being here. We'll close with a prayer.
Yeah,
We'll come back with more interesting topics from the yoga philosophy. Thank you once again for being there today. We'll close with a prayer. Please be seated. Bring your hands to Pranamasana. Close your eyes. Get centered in your space. Stay with me for the prayer. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Swasti. Thank you everyone once again. Namaste.
We'll share the video. We'll share the links of the videos.
Yes, this will be going on my YouTube channel. You can relook if you want to have a little more understanding about the whole Ashtanga Yoga.
Thank you. Thank you.